President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni of Uganda recently made a very provocative statement when the president said that there would be wars in East Africa if he's not going to be allowed the access into the Indian Ocean. And the president went ahead to reiterate, saying that there is no way an apartment can only offer parking to the ground floor people. Yes, that sounded very provocative when he tried to support the point of him having an access into the Indian Ocean through Kenya. And the president went ahead to say that ocean belongs to me. It is mine. I know that these statements looked very, very provocative and not actually appealing to most of the Kenyans. But due to some research that we did, we got to realize that there is a Western country behind President Museveni's threat to Kenya. This never just came. Because President Museveni was elected, or not even elected, he overthrew President Milton Obote and took the presidential seat of Uganda through military coup. That was in January the year 1986, the 29th. The president of Uganda overthrew Obote and took the presidential seat by force. And now, I believe that this statement never only came from the president of Uganda. This statement came as a result of a force that is behind Uganda with an interest. And that is what we are going to analyze today. And I would like to pass this information to both Ugandans and Kenyans to make them understand that, look, let us not allow the foreign country to distract the peace or the harmony that we have had between us for a very long period of time. Look, ladies and gentlemen, we know very well that recently a coltan, which is a very, very rare mineral, was discovered in Kenya. And it was discovered to be in a very massive deposit that could have summed up to $7 trillion. We are not talking about billions. We are not talking about millions, but we are talking about $7 trillion. That is the deposit of coltan that is in Kenya. And we understand very well that the Western countries believe that whatever they need, they have to acquire by whatever means. Today, as we are talking, bear in mind that Congo is suffering the internal conflict because of the outside Western countries that are starting war within the Democratic Republic of Congo. As a matter of fact, the Democratic Republic of Congo is one of the richest countries in the world. But what happened? Somebody came, started the wars in Congo, and brought the so-called political instability. So that whenever they come and scoop the precious minerals that are in Congo, nobody would question them, they will not pay tax, they will live without being accountable. And this has actually dropped Congo into the dungeon of poverty for a very, very long time. When the war escalates, you hear the Western countries coming to say that, oh, let Kenya and some other countries in Africa unite and send their troops in Congo, countries like South Africa, so that they can go and settle what is going on down there. That would be something that is so ridiculous. Because we Africans, we are made to fight each other over the interest of the white person. Remember that by the end of this video, I'm going to specifically tell you by names the countries that are behind President Museveni threatening Kenya with a military war if Kenya is not going to give Uganda the access into the Indian Ocean. In Africa, there are 16 countries, not one. There are 16 countries that are landlocked. And these countries have never by any chance reached a point of threatening other countries within their region or locality that have gotten access to the ocean with a military war claiming that the ocean belongs to them. What President Museveni has done is directly called a provocative attack. It is something that has never happened. Ethiopia is landlocked. It has got the countries around it like Djibouti, Somali, countries like Kenya. Ethiopia has got countries like Sudan. These are countries, Eritrea, that surrounds Ethiopia geographically. Most of those countries have gotten access into the ocean, but we have never seen such a word coming from the government of Ethiopia. We know that Uganda is the country that has risen up to the extent that nobody expected. The reaction of President Museveni, that has been in the presidential seat of Uganda for more than 38 years, was very, very unfriendly to the Kenyan people and the Kenyan government. Rwanda is a landlocked country, but has never threatened the neighboring countries. Burundi is a landlocked country. Malawi is a landlocked country. South Sudan is a landlocked country. Botswana is a landlocked country. Lesotho is a landlocked country. Eswatini, that is Swaziland, at the southern parts of Africa, is a landlocked country. Zambia is a landlocked country. Zimbabwe is a landlocked country. Central African Republic is a landlocked country, but has never threatened the neighboring countries to give them a by force access into the ocean, even if it means that it is a military use of military to acquire whatever they need. We have never heard of that. Chad is a landlocked country. Burkina Faso is a landlocked country. Mali is a landlocked country, and Niger is also a landlocked country. But recently, what came out of Uganda is very, very worrying and threatening. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that what is happening is not as you see it. President Museveni has got a force behind it, whose interest Uganda is serving. And that is a country from the West. I told you that I'm going to tell you that country by evidence, according to the way I have explained it. Let's dive into details. Have a look.
Shifting our focus now to Kenya's southern coast, where a quiet forest that's sacred to the local Digo community sits atop what could be one of the world's richest untapped deposits of rare earth minerals. Mrima Hill, a lush green forest near the Indian Ocean, is believed to contain rare earth elements and niobium. This mineral is vital to producing steel, smartphones and electric vehicles. In 2013, British-Canadian company estimated that these deposits could be worth more than $62 billion. Mrima Hill has drawn renewed attention over the past year. A US diplomat, in fact, visited the site reportedly while serving as interim ambassador. Chinese nationals have also attempted to access the area but were turned away. And this year, Australian mining firms reportedly announced their bid to mine rare earths there. Locals saying that the arrival of investors and land speculators fueled deep suspicion and fear. For the Digo people who live around the hill, this forest is not just land, it's sacred. It's the home to their ancestral shrines, farms, livelihoods. And now they fear being evicted or denied a share of future mining profits. The roots of the conflict going back to 2013, when the Kenyan government revoked the license over environmental and licensing irregularities of the company. And the company claimed it lost the license because it refused to pay a bribe to the then mining minister. The charge was flatly denied by the minister, reportedly. And the company lost multiple legal battles in Kenyan courts and international tribunals. In the aftermath, Kenya even imposed a temporary ban on new mining licenses by citing widespread corruption and environmental damage. A decade later now, Kenya wants to relaunch its mining sector. The government is touting bold reforms, various tax incentives, digital licensing, promises of transparency to attract global investors. It hopes to raise mining's contribution to the economy from just 0.8% of the GDP today to a staggering 10% by 2030. But experts are warning that enthusiasm may be outrunning reality. As global powers like the US and China compete for rare earth dominance, the story of this hill is more than just a fight over minerals. It's a collision of local rights, national ambition, also global rivalry.
India has just stunned the world with a discovery so vast, so transformative, that it could redraw the global map of mineral power. The East African nation has uncovered an estimated $62 billion worth of rare earth minerals, resources so critical, so strategically vital, that global powers are now circling like hawks. In a world where nations are racing to secure the materials that will define the next century, clean energy, advanced electronics, and defense technologies, Kenya has suddenly found itself sitting on a geological jackpot. But what does this mean for Africa? Could this be the moment when the continent finally becomes the heartbeat of the world's green revolution? At the center of this earth-shaking discovery lies Kenya's coastal formations, rich in an astonishing concentration of minerals that the modern world cannot live without. Geological assessments suggest that the country hosts nearly 40 million tons of rare earth-bearing ore, with an average composition of 5% total rare earth oxides. To put that into perspective, this single discovery could shift the balance of global supply chains currently dominated by China. Even more remarkable, these reserves also contain an estimated 680 million kilograms of niobium, a metal critical for aerospace technology, clean tech, and high-strength steelmaking. The scale of this jewel mineral find sets Kenya apart, giving it not just rare earths, but a combination of strategic materials that the industrialized world desperately needs. But what exactly makes these minerals so precious? Rare earth elements are the invisible backbone of modern civilization, found in everything from smartphones and wind turbines to fighter jets and electric vehicles. Kenya's treasure includes both light and heavy rare earth elements, neodymium, praseodymium, cerium, and lanthanum on the lighter side, and heavyweights like dysprosium and terbium, which fetch premium prices due to their scarcity and indispensable roles in permanent magnets and defense systems. It's no exaggeration to say that whoever controls these elements controls the technologies of the future. Is it any wonder, then, that superpowers are already jostling for a piece of Kenya's earth? The epicenter of this newfound wealth is Mrima Hill, a 157-hectare forest in Kwale County, just 50 kilometers from the port city of Mombasa. For years, Mrima Hill was known mainly to locals as a sacred place, a home to shrines, ancestral graves, and medicinal plants. Now, it has become the focal point of the world's mineral obsession. Beneath its forested slopes lie massive quantities of rare earth elements and niobium, valued at over $62 billion. Its proximity to Mombasa gives it an unmatched logistical advantage, allowing for swift access to global shipping routes across the Indian Ocean. With established roads, power lines, and customs facilities already in place, Kenya's rare earths are not only rich, they're accessible, and that makes all the difference. But what's truly fascinating is how this discovery has ignited a modern-day scramble for Africa. The United States, China, and Australia have all taken notice, and none intend to sit back and watch. Washington has already made quiet diplomatic moves, with the former U.S. ambassador to Kenya visiting Mrima Hill in a bid to secure sustainable access to Africa's rare earths. Meanwhile, Chinese nationals have attempted to visit the area but were reportedly turned away by local guards, a sign of just how high the geopolitical stakes have become. Not to be left behind, an Australian consortium led by RareX and Iluka Resources has announced exploration plans, hoping to carve out their share of Kenya's mineral fortune. Could Mrima Hill become the next global battleground, not of weapons, but of minerals? The reason for this frenzy is simple. The world is running short on these critical elements. China currently controls roughly 70% of global rare earth production, a monopoly that many Western nations now see as a strategic vulnerability. The push for electric vehicles, wind turbines, and clean energy storage systems has sent demand for these minerals soaring. Kenya's discovery, therefore, is not just a local story. It's a global one. It offers manufacturers, defense contractors, and tech giants a desperately needed alternative source. And for Kenya, it could mean something even greater: the chance to rewrite its economic destiny. Imagine what $62 billion in mineral wealth could do for Kenya's economy. The government has already announced reforms aimed at expanding the mining sector's contribution to GDP from under 1% to 10% by 2030. With global powers vying for access, Kenya has the leverage to demand fairer contracts, local processing, and technology transfer. The ripple effects could be enormous: new jobs, industrial zones, and a wave of infrastructure and investment across East Africa. Could this be the economic spark that propels Kenya into middle-income status, or even higher? And might it finally prove that Africa's mineral wealth can power African prosperity, not just foreign profits? Yet, amid all the excitement, a whisper of caution echoes from the foothills of Mrima Hill. For the local Digo community, the hill is more than just rock and soil. It is sacred ground, the spiritual heart of their people. Residents fear that large-scale mining could mean displacement, environmental devastation, and the loss of cultural heritage. Local forest guards have reportedly turned away visitors, warning against exploitation. Their concerns are not unfounded. Kenya's mining history is riddled with disputes, corruption, and broken promises. Back in 2013, the government revoked the mining license of Cortec Mining Kenya over environmental and ethical concerns, triggering years of legal battles. These memories linger, reminding the nation that not all that glitters should come at the cost of people or the planet. As Professor Daniel Wuru Ichengi, a retired economic geologist from the University of Nairobi, has observed, the allure of mining often hides the deeper risks of corruption and weak governance. For Kenya to truly benefit, he argues, national interests must come first. And indeed, this should be Kenya's guiding star, to balance ambition with accountability and wealth with sustainability. Can the country harness this newfound treasure without repeating the mistakes that have long haunted Africa's resource story? The timing could not be more critical. Across the continent, nations are awakening to the realization that exporting raw minerals has never brought true prosperity. Under the African Continental Free Trade Area and the African Union's Green Mineral Strategy, governments are now moving toward refining, processing, and manufacturing locally. From Zambia's copper to Namibia's lithium and Congo's cobalt, Africa is striving to capture more value within its borders. Kenya's discovery fits perfectly into this continental shift. If processed and refined in Africa, these minerals could fuel a new era of industrialization, one where Africa doesn't just supply the world, but builds the future itself. Kenya's rare earth bonanza, then, is more than a geological triumph. It's a moment of reckoning for the continent. The country stands at a crossroads between being another supplier in the global mineral race or becoming a leader in sustainable, value-driven industrialization. With the right strategy, Kenya could transform East Africa into a new hub of technological power and economic growth. But will it? Will Africa finally rise from being the source of the world's riches to becoming the architect of its own prosperity? As the sun sets over Mrima Hill, beneath its sacred trees and ancestral stones, lies a promise buried deep in the earth, a promise of transformation, of wealth, and of power. The world is watching, the superpowers are plotting, and Kenya is awakening. The next chapter of Africa's story may well begin here, in a quiet coastal forest.
There is a say that goes that when it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, and looks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Yeah, that is it. Now, this topic today prompted me to begin looking at the budget of the bigger economies in the world. And I looked at these budgets in terms of dollars. Because what is in Kenya is not shillings. What is in Kenya is the riches that the world biggest economy cannot ignore. We know that right now, the world biggest economy are trying to fight so hard to divert the carbon energy, make something of green energy. And so any material that can help them produce the green energy, that becomes the first priority. Coltan is a very, very rare mineral. Very, very rare. And remember, Kenya has discovered that it is found in massive, in almost 6 counties in Kenya. 6 counties. And now, these counties, we have got the Embu County. There is a great deposit of coltan in Embu County. And we talked of Samburu County. There is a great deposit of coltan in Samburu. There is a great deposit of coltan in Kitui County. There is a great deposit of coltan in Tana River County. And there is a big deposit of coltan in Kenya, in Turkana County. Also in West Pokot County, there is a great deposit of coltan. That is why the total amount of the deposit of coltan that is found in Kenya, if it is mined, then it would cost up to $7 trillion. Do you know how much United States spends on their budget yearly? A budget that runs from the United States military. You talk of the B-52 bombers. You talk of the developing of the nuclear warheads, the nuclear weapons, even the nuclear missile that United States tested recently. When you talk about the military of America overseas and those that are at home, the budget that covers the payment of the ICE that now is cracking down on the illegal immigrants, the budget that pays all the federal officers and everything, United States would need $6.8 trillion. That is not even yet getting to $7 trillion. Actually, the deposit is not in billion, it is in trillion. The $7 trillion deposit of, actually the amount of the deposit of coltan that Kenya has. I want to remind you that these countries are willing to sacrifice Kenya just to benefit by acquiring that mineral. So believe me, Uganda is not alone. When we look at China, remember I have not yet said that America is behind it, but I just told you that by the end of this video, I'm going to tell you which country exactly is behind the political instability being stirred up in East Africa. What Uganda is doing is very, very irrational. You cannot claim the right to own a natural resource 500 plus, not 500, from Busia to Mombasa, we have 1,000 plus kilometers. You are crossing the entire country to go and acquire the ocean on the other side. That is very abnormal. It has never happened. Where would the old man that has sat on the seat of power for more than 40 years? Museveni is old. Where can he acquire that? Where has he been? Why didn't he do this before? Why can't you ask yourself this? Why haven't Museveni had such a guts or charisma to threaten Kenya like that before? Something is behind it. Yes, something is behind it. When we look at the budget of China per year in dollars, China spends $3.14 trillion. That includes the money that China lends to the African countries. That includes the money that China lends to the European countries. China spends $3.14 trillion. I believe that you understand that America has invested so much in the military, so their budget is quite high, $6.8 trillion. But China spends 3.14. It means the budget that runs the entire population of 1-point-something billion is not even half what the value of the mineral that Kenyans have. It is not even half. Now, look at this. What Kenya has can be a budget of China in 2 years, or rather say 2.5 years. Look at the country like Russia. Russia spends 414 billion. The Russian budget does not even get to $1 trillion. You know, it dwells around billions. So Russia spends $414 billion yearly on the budget that runs the entire country. And when you look at the country, like for example, which country again? Let me look at the European countries, the entire bloc. Those guys, their budget per year is $1.074 trillion, which means the deposit of coltan in Kenya, the worth of the deposit of coltan in Kenya can run the entire Europe for 7 good years. 7 good years, because their budget in a year is $1.074. That is in a year. Very good. Let's go, guys. Now, let's look at another country. Which one is this? India. India is a very big economy. We cannot ignore India, yeah? India yearly spends $575.78 billion. Not trillion. India is spending billion dollars. But what we have in Kenya is worth $7 trillion. Let things be put open. Huh? Now, tell me, why wouldn't the Western countries stir up wars in Kenya, make it look like Congo, so that they get their interests served? I want to remind you today that what you see in the public, President Trump trying to condemn or speak ill about President Putin, or President Trump trying to condemn President Xi of China, that is not the real picture. These guys are friends behind the veil. I tell you, President Trump is a great friend of President Putin. They do even some businesses together. President Trump have done some investments in Russia. That is for the president. I don't want to enter into that. But just reminding you that, look, the Western countries would do anything possible to destabilize one country like China if that can manage to run the economies for 10 years, 5 years, 4 years, 2 years. Yes. Now, look at this. When you look at the military power of Uganda, Uganda has of late invested in the armory and the fighting weapons. And that has got a great significance, because when you look at a country that is supplying Uganda with weapons, the chief supplier of the Ugandan weapons is Russia. Yes, Russia is the country that is #1 supplier of the Ugandan weapon, military weapons actually. And when you look at the countries that are interested in the coltan deposit in Kenya, China is interested. Yeah, that's a big economy. China is interested. America is interested. Russia is interested. Is interested. Australia is interested. South Korea is interested, and Japan is also interested. Because we know that coltan, as I said, is a rare commodity that most of the electronic companies that deals with electronics and whatever would really need. And when you look at, for example, the companies like Apple, the company like Samsung, the companies like Huawei, which rely heavily on the coltan for manufacturing of the electronic devices, because coltan is used to manufacture laptops, it is used to manufacture phones, it is used to manufacture the lithium batteries to empower the electric cars. Coltan is a very, very precious commodity. These countries that I'm talking about, Apple, Samsung, Huawei, you talk of the companies that produces the electric cars batteries. These countries are not found in Africa. These companies, are not found in Africa. These countries are found in either China, they are found in Europe, and they are found in America. These countries are found in Russia. I mean, these companies are found in Russia. No, guys, my tongue keeps slipping countries because I don't want you to interfere with any of the African countries. Yeah, if you're gonna come, we do business, then come in with a good faith. Stop inciting war between us. That is a bad behavior, not good at all. Now, look at this. When these countries realizes the amount of the deposit in Africa, in Kenya, they are willing and ready to do whatever it takes. Now, let me tell you how it will work. Uganda is going to be empowered, supplied with the weaponry and everything to fight Kenya. These guys knows very well that the fight between Uganda and Kenya, because President Museveni is good at guerrilla warfare, they know very well that the fight between Kenya and Uganda is not going to be a fight that is going to be resolved very soon. And it is not a fight that Uganda will just invade Kenya and capture Nairobi and say that now Nairobi belongs to us. When you look at the place that President Museveni is targeting, he's targeting a place along Indian Ocean, the port. The counties that have got the deposit of coltan are nearing the port of Indian Ocean. The counties like Kitui are towards the west of Kenya, which means towards the Indian Ocean. Now, it is going to be the cause of the political instability. And now the same thing that happened in Russia, in Ukraine, is going to happen in Kenya. Now when the fight is ongoing and there is instability and the countries, the world superpowers are coming now in, they will come with an interest. And what they will begin speaking is this: you know, guys, now being that things are not good, you're not in a good shape, now let's make a deal. We are going to calm the situation. We are going to bring down the uproar and the scenario, and we are going to negotiate, talk to Uganda, talk to Kenya, bring peace, but under one condition: that you are going to allow us this percentage of the coltan that you have. I believe that you're getting the way this story is going. Yes. If you are going to give me a percentage, this percentage of what you have, then we are going to calm everything down. And remember, they're going to say that with conditions. What they're going to take, if, for example, what you had is worth $7 trillion, they would ask you for $5 trillion for free, just to bring the stability in your country. I believe you're seeing the way this thing is going. And so, guys, President Museveni is not alone. What the president is saying is very impossible. He knows very well that what he's trying to say, whenever he tries to execute it, Kenya would not accept. So what would happen? Kenya and Uganda will enter into war. The issue is not about the port. The issue is not about the Indian Ocean. The issue is not about the transit route. The issue is not about Indian Ocean being a strategic location for the global market and everything. No, that is not the issue. The issue is the mineral in Kenya. And if that mineral in Kenya will actually bring that political instability, then I would like to give some piece of advice to Uganda. Because war is going to bring bloodshed. These guys to whom we are going to shed our blood are not people who cares about us anymore. Look at United Nations. How many African presidents are there in the very critical meetings? For example, the security meetings. None. These guys sit down, makes decision, and then they want us to follow. And they have got a strategic way of, managing us in a way that we feel like, we are going through tragedy and difficulties and things are not working within our country. Please come and help us. They will come and give you very tough conditions. In short, we are not coming to bomb you directly. We will not come to fight you. We will not come directly with the big aeroplanes to drop some huge great tonnage of bombs in your land. But we are going to use you to fight yourself. Divide and rule. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to know your thought about what the discussion that we have had today. And I've tried to simplify it in a way that we are able to understand it better. I know that maybe there is something that you never got well, but don't worry. In the next video, we are going to clarify on that based on your comments. When you give us comments, please, we are going to follow up, get to know where things never went good. Kenyans and Ugandans have been very friendly people. There is no reason behind President Museveni wanting to own Indian Ocean that is more than 1,000 kilometers west of Kenya, which means it is like jumping over Kenya. That is a very, very abnormal decision. We have known of President Museveni trying to say that not President Museveni, the Ugandan government trying to claim the land of Kenya from Busia to Naivasha. We have heard of that. We have known of the Ugandan government trying to claim the ownership of Migingo Highland in Lake Victoria. But when you look at that, it is kind of logic because they are claiming what is exactly beneath their border. Yeah, that could be quite understandable. But now this of Indian Ocean was something else. This thing is not normal. It is not normal. There is a force behind it. And we have just tried to break down what is happening. The world is moving from the carbon energy to the green energy. So be careful before you begin fighting, because your people will die and our people will die, and we shall be reduced back economically, because when wars begins, nothing runs in the country. There is no going to school. There is no hospital operating. The West would pretend as if they are bringing support. The Western companies are the companies that are going to sell Uganda and Kenya weapons. They are going to benefit by doing business with our situation. The West would assume that they're trying to bring stability. It would take so long until there are damages that now you are the ones who would be desperate and in need of a deal. And now during that time, they would come with conditions. You know, guys, give us your minerals. We are going to settle this matter. I tell you, not a good way. Africa, let's wake up. Let's realize that the moment or at the time by which we have reached, nobody should come and manipulate us, and nobody should come and tell us what to do. We know what is good for us. Uganda knows, according to the laws spelled by the international laws of the acquisition of the resources and geographical locations, they can't have Indian Ocean because they are with it. Or else, Kenya should merge with Uganda and make one country. Yes. And our currency is going to be strong. I would advise for that. Yeah, because when we do that, Tanzania would join. Yeah, and we are going to be a very powerful economy. The minerals in Uganda and the minerals in Kenya and the minerals in Tanzania is going to benefit all of us. Yes. So if that would be okay, I would be so happy. We do away with Busia border, we do away with Malaba border, we merge into one country, we move ahead. Yes. Whatever Kenya has, we bring on the table, we share. Whatever Uganda has, we bring on the table, we share. Whatever we can find out of Tanzania, gold and everything, we bring on the table, we share. We drive the East African community. That would be better. Much more better beyond the fight that we are trying to, to boil within us. Not making sense at all. We cannot manage to shed the blood of our people because of the interest of other people. Please, African leaders, President Ruto, President Museveni, President Suluhu, President Kagame, President Ndashimie, everybody around, please, let us make Basi East Africa moja. Yes. Thank you, guys. See you next time on such a time. Or maybe not such a time. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. My name is Maxwell. Pleasure having you. God bless you.